So first of all, thank you everyone for being here tonight. My name is Nia McAllister and I'm the Visitor Experience Manager at the Museum of the African Diaspora in San Francisco. As we gather here tonight, I always want to start the events just acknowledging, the space and the time that we're living in. We're living through multiple pandemics at the moment, and so I want to recognize both the ongoing devastation from COVID, but also the devastation from the police brutality and violence and murder of Black people in this country and also globally. And so we just want to center ourselves in this time and acknowledge that people are here in this space for different reasons, both to grieve, to heal, to find joy in each other's company. And so we want to honor all of those feelings and recognize that it is a vulnerable space and those feelings are valid, and we're here to be centered around respect and respect for each other as we come together. And in addition, I also want to acknowledge that though we're gathering virtually, many of us are either settler immigrants or descendants of those forcibly brought to this continent. And our institutions were founded upon exclusions and erasures of Indigenous peoples whose lands we are located in our disparate locations at the moment. And so with deep respect, MOAD does acknowledge that even in this virtual space, our people, our work, and our network servers are all on Native lands. And so we thank the Indigenous peoples of the Bay Area and beyond who have stewarded this land through many generations. And so with that, again, this space is just a really important community space for me and for all of those who are sharing in it. And so I'm just gonna walk through the basic house rules for the event, just so that everyone feels comfortable and knows how to share in the space. And so I do ask that everyone who is not the person that is reading, please keep your microphones on mute so that we can best hear the person sharing. That said, open mics are extremely intimate and you want to give affirmations and respond to each other's pieces. So I do encourage you to use the chat feature. Please type in phrases that stand out to you, affirm each other, snap, air hands, all of those are welcome ways to really respond to each other's work. Because that is important as we're all sharing in here, and it is, again, vulnerable. And so we want to make sure that even though we can't hear each other clapping or cheering each other on, we want to show that in a different way. So I'm about to put the lineup for tonight in the chat, and in between, before each reader, I will read your name out to introduce you. If for some reason I skip you or you're not in the open mic when I call your name, you're welcome to message me privately and I'll make sure that you're back in the lineup. And I do want to remind you that each reader will have 4 minutes, so please keep within that time since we do have a full lineup. And then we're excited to have our feature for tonight, Darius Simpson, who will be reading halfway through our open mic. And I'll introduce him and then we'll continue on with open mic afterwards. So with that, I am going to put our lineup in the chat and invite Melissa and Noelle to be our first reader up to the mic.
Awesome. Good evening, everybody. It is a joy, as always, to be here. The title of this first piece, or the piece that I'm doing this evening, is Keep Going. 2 Corinthians 5:17 says, "Therefore, if any man be in Christ, he is a new creature. Old things are passed away. Behold, all things are become new." See, if you have the ability within yourself to transform and cocoon yourself like a butterfly, ready to take on the newness of life so that you can take flight. In so many words, keep going. Keep going as all the others marvel at your brilliance, standing by idly as you glide like a gazelle, fearing not the air, nor the wind, or the isolated numbness that reeks in the shadows. Sometimes you will feel like you are all alone, standing on the mountaintop, looking at the vastness and beauty of pastures all around. It is there, in that moment, that you must raise your braveness to a level so high that nobody can reach it. Move. Move abundantly, swiftly, and powerfully so that no one can feel comfortable putting you in one category. Be different and keep going. When you feel that there is no more and you have nothing else to give, keep going. I know some days you feel so tired of holding up the sky all by yourself. I know you were attacked. I know you were ridiculed. I know you were bullied. And like you, I know what it's like to be criticized, ostracized, and made fun of. I know it's complicated. I know it feels like they took your dream away. I know it feels like you've been destroyed. I know it feels like the world is against you. And I know sometimes you feel that God does not hear your prayer. But I've come by here to let you know that you are a champion. I've come by here to let you know that you are not average. I've come by here to let you know that I see your struggle and I also see your greatness and progress forward as you fight through the pain. Don't give up. Don't get discouraged. Because I guarantee you, somebody is lying in a hospital bed right now, fighting to live, scrambling on the edges of survival. Cherish the breath in your lungs because suicide is not an option. And believe it or not, with God, you have the winning formula. With God, you will stand on your feet as the negativity falls by the wayside. You can turn things around and grow into your victory. You can do this. So if you don't hear anything today, please hear me say, keep going. Embrace change. Step into this moment right now. Change your mind, and it will enhance your life. Keep going.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that piece and that affirmation for all of us.
Thank you.
Next up to the mic, I'd like to invite Kai Adia. Welcome. Welcome, Kai.
Hello, hello. So again, like Nia said, I'm Kai. I'm a writer based in Los Angeles. I'm going to share 2 poems from my upcoming poetry volume. So the first one is called Spaceship. It has a little bit of Afrofuturism in it. And so here's how it goes. It's just a scratch on the spaceship. The crew is unshaken, able to steer the inky black. The cool middle shivers like skin when dirty debris grazes its fingers against you, taunting insecurities to rear from the cage you locked and threw away. It dangles behind, tethered out of sight, only a scratch. You think the fingers have slashed into your core, hacking into your mainframe, coding in shrieking whispers, you're not enough. You won't survive. The skin ripples at the contact. You want to rip across the eons until you are where you need to be. Flag staked, settlement planted, society thriving. Remember, light from distant fireballs travels unafraid of being consumed by the vastness just to meet your eyes. So that's my first one. It's called Spaceship. My second is called Wake Up, and this one you can say has just been a collection of my thoughts around all the protests that have been happening and the results of too many Black people being laid to rest too soon. So here's just my thoughts on that. Wake up. When's the wake-up call? Will it be a gunshot and the sound of the next body's fall? Pale hands on Black keys pushing down, 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 until they bend and make sounds their ears love to hear, whether it's Black voices running melodic hymns or wheezing a haunting note. We wheeze until spores pour forth from our throats. When's the wake-up call? The chemicals in our bodies are jostled by supremacy displays. These constant sacrifices call for constant debate. We get the shakes and tremors, afraid to make a misstep, take on a mistake. Shall we feel the knives and needles or numb ourselves with our favorite vice? Binge watching TV at night just to breathe again. When's the wake-up call? Will it be a gunshot and the sound of the next body's fall? Must we stay here and face it all? In the middle of stillness, someone is still killing us. Mask on, silence gone, don't halt, don't stop. The pavement knows our souls. Orange butterfly wings float with us, tenderly sharing the other side's love. Keep on with your warblering notes. Chanting into the megaphone, talk over the talking heads that open their mouths like mad fish, gaping, saying anything to re-engineer the narrative to be remembered. They cast a mirage that improper behavior warrants our execution. When we are just jogging, playing, relaxing in our own homes. The deep brown woman with the black poofy hair, her fist in the air, her voice echoes into the ether, sending out freedom vibrations that slip between eons, holding our wishes, moving ahead of all of us to open a future. So that was Wake Up and that was Spaceship. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Kai, for sharing both of those. It's fun to hear just the variation in your pieces, but the honesty in all of them. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Next up to the mic, I would like to invite Eltinaé. Welcome.
Thank you very much, you guys, for this space and to be in such wonderful company, really inspirational pieces. The three pieces I'm going to be reading are from my forthcoming book, The Moral Judgment of Butterflies, which comes out next year in the UK. I'm a Sudanese poet of Nubian descent, and I live in Granada, Spain. So the first poem I'm going to share is called When You Find Yourself, When They Find Your Body, and it has been inspired by the events that have taken place recently in the United States with the BLM movement. What they call you is dirty, dangerous, deadly, disposable, damaged. Did you come from the jungle? They ask about your lips, your hair, if people read your books down there. Did your parents fall in love first, or were they paired to breed? More mouths to feed, brown bodies surrendering. Soil thick with us, them, us, them, us. Stacks. Were we created to serve? To know our place is nowhere? What you call yourself in that language, brother? Are you other? You're not just a dead blank stare. Don't ever hate your skin, your hair. Please know you come from everywhere. Forget that body, you're on the road now. No one is waiting. What's left of you is a bus. Every wheel is a person you wouldn't leave behind. Everyone on board is blindfolded and crying for their mother. Every mother is a bus stop you swerve past to get home. You call those mothers trees. You call the passengers crying wind. When police ask if your ID is valid, they mean you deserve to die. They start shooting all the passengers you carry. The police aren't safe until they torch it. They step back and watch everything you love shrinking, covered in glass and blood. We always migrate to a place where everyone is alive inside, resisting. That was my first piece. My second piece is called Breathing Exercises. It's a full moon, so I rise to the occasion, end up at a bar called Estrella, if that makes any sense. You're there pouting in your black dress, it's been a few months, and you say, I abandoned you. Abandoned is what fanatics did to the faith I was raised in when they tore up the sky and left a city of rubble from a word like surrender. But you're okay, you're doing yoga now. Your body is a temple. I think about how many I've buried in mine. Abandoned is how I left home, left my sister and younger brother to pack up their lives as they caved when the last home we knew was sold because of a word like greed. Everything else that came after the country I fled to rested like an anchor and quit being a choice. I'm a goddess, you say, I need a god, and all I can think of are my parents. Those inshallah futures I cannot share with them because we are not the same people. I can't remember the word in Turkish for forget, only remember. Hatırlamak. Hatırlamak, lifting your aunt from her bed into her wheelchair after she lost both legs. How proud you were of those first veins that popped up in your arm before your body was mapped with them. Hatırlamak, how your parents joked about you dying of patience until you did, though no one mourned. Hatırlamak, how your whole body went ripe that time you heard someone say, go home, because you knew you needed a new address every time you landed. Forgetting in Arabic is human, a collective act of omission that sinks. Ensa. In Greek, lismono, forget is a pigeonhole we crawl into to escape the vertigo of living. Ensa, that accent that rises like a pyramid in your throat every time they mention home. Lismono, those who claim studying and living somewhere are not the same thing. Hatırlamak, you belong anywhere you can flee to and return from in one piece. Hatırlamak, your language will follow you even into the bed of a stranger with no tongue. Ensa, the way some scents invade and bomb your insides like a gas that puts you under. Lismono, your nest sometimes. Hatırlamak, we are born borderless until we touch. And the last poem that I'm going to perform is called Zakiyyah, and it's the Arabic word for last will or testament. How long is a life avoiding the beach, believing God spoke through my father, some found seashell pushed off a shelf I cannot bury. I'd like to think there are aisles of men praying somewhere once I'm gone, that their tongues wrap around where I kept warm like a turban, woven in prayer by strangers, that I'm not found stiff, half hanging off a hotel bed under a phrase book in another useless language. I hope I go dreaming in Arabic because love there sounds like the wind passes through every vowel. Somewhere buried in my voice there's asphalt singing as brothers build rooms for one another. I find new corners in case I come back. Everyone gets a dua to float across the lake and watch disappear. This is mine. Thank you so much for the space.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing all of those pieces. I feel like all of us have just been soaking in like the richness and the soothing nature of your words. So thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
Next up, I would like to invite James Cagney. Welcome, James.
Thank you, Nia. Good evening. Just two short poems. This is called The Flames of Genesis. Every night I am murdered in my sleep, only to awaken radiant and naked beneath dawn's monsoon of blood. This white Genesis occupied by the proudly illiterate after labeling the tree of knowledge a controlled substance. Every night, the bushes open its jaws of switches and my shift begins anew. The job in this garden of perennial thistles I'm forced to sharecrop, name the bite style of each fresh animal rushing from the double-gated house above me. Describe the complex flavors in poisoned saliva, pepper, citrus, rust. Tag ivory monuments in bubble lettering, new words for being spat out and eaten again. Determine the fine tasting notes between mauling for recreation or slaughter triggered by fear. I am made in the image of illegally moving targets. My ribs open nightly, blossom of beef mushrooms, its aroma singing to the sky. Night opens its drooling jaws in praise of me. And this finally is called Firecrackers. The sky shedding hot apples of light, rapacious grins slashed across the throat of the sky. This in celebration of war, which we worship with tears in our eyes in this church of vampires. We obediently raise our faces to the falling dead at the appointed time, while our tithes of loyalty are looted from our back pockets. We are blindfolded in faith at this service where we slice open stolen cultural lambs on a pew of slot machines. Our prayers full of shrapnel swarming to reconstruct this truth. Mantras triggering flames up our infected spines. These prayers are all processed catchphrases and repurposed ad campaigns. The last freestyle sampled from a dying mouth. Nightly, I check myself for bite marks, a rubber stamp of lips, proof of percussion and sucking. It's the brain's insistence on untying knots secured by the tongue. This isn't prayer dancing. It's response to infestation, a swarm of the wrong gods, healing parishioners with fortune cookie astrology. We pray just to breathe in certain spaces, and you expect us to pay weekly to be suffocated. All right, thank you so very much.
Wow. Thank you, James. Those hit hard. I appreciate you sharing both of those. Next up, we have Kisaye Natsuki. Welcome.
I think she's on mute.
I think so too. Let's see.
Thank you. Yes.
We can hear
Thank you, Nia. Thank you, Nia. I really appreciate having found this space. It's very healing for me. I'm reading 2 poems. The first one is called The Names of Trees. I opened my Facebook page to 2 invitations and to a writing of someone's tale that reads long and thin about walking through a life where it culminates and says, a smile can take away the pain of a thing. The thing of cancer or of anything else, fill in your sadness here. A smile and a blush can dissolve it. Your own smile can dissolve the pain in one's own heart. I question its truth, but want it true. I decide to believe. Turn off the television, it says. It gets inside of you. I vow to rid myself of the imaged storybook that feeds the things inside I do not know. I walk through days of hot, dry breezes in my mind as I see more pictures. Folded white cotton socks above polished black leather shoes, strap-hugging foot, thin legs standing beneath pleated navy blue skirt, me looking up, awaiting coconut's waters that parched desiring throats await of its drip down pharynx and lips. Men's voices on street corners of almost ripe and reds penetrate like dirty touches inside closed doors and stolen moments that shouldn't be. Women gathering, walking lively beside, comparing women's black skins' hues of red black, blue black, brown black, against blonded Betty in Archie's pages, the clear choice. And Mary Ingles's blonde flowing hair and pearl blue eyes amidst deafness as innocence. Purity and beauty silently sinks through in Little House on the Prairie every night at 8. Learning to disregard ourselves against women we never see, and to miss it, crowded in kitchens in hours of braiding and cooking as we grow alongside Reds, Almost Ripe, and Mary Ingles's, domain to men's and comics value assessments. Hair, skin, pink lips or brown, eyes, body, my body. I walk down streets swollen with pui, salmon, and flamboyant trees, and grass that tickles bare legs after school. Air warm and then cool as it touches lips. School bag hanging over thin shoulder, unsure child's hands seeking surety, grabbing strap in pretense and make-believe woman play. Woman comparing black skins' hues, all black skins, hued by histories and legacies and generations that slowly eat the body. Walking within a now black country that I called home, not knowing if it was home or ours, swollen with Bettys and Veronicas instead of Puis. Walking within a black body, womb, breast, cunt that is home, not knowing how to feel it mine. Can I rename the cunt to be mine, to not mean cunt even with the same word, and be holy birthplace no matter what? Can the drawings of my home and body be the same, stay the same, and mean another, mean other, mean more than what sank into its body? Or does that take lifetimes and not a lifetime? One word at a time, as we write poems with our stories lived across time we cannot see or imagine. A smile can take away the pain of a thing that got inside. One's own smile, one's own thing, while the seed outside remains and remains. Thank you. There's one more. The second one is Untitled, and it's very short. Histories, landscaped on skin, carved like riverbeds old with memories of wetness flowing through its channel bottom, now ashen with forgotten stones, making small pyramids of worship to the earth, confidently awaiting return of the clear water and the life that accompany its ebb and flow in riparian banks and headwaters, together sculpting futures not yet born. Thank you for this time. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much for sharing both of those. And it makes me really happy hearing that this space is one of healing and one that you're excited to be in. Next to the mic, I'd like to invite Shawna Sherman. Welcome, Shawna.
Hi, Nia. Thank you. And yes, thanks for this space. I really enjoy it. I have two poems. They're pretty short. One, they're a little different. One's based on my continuing project of reusing the words from runaway slave advertisements from South Carolina. I'll start with that one first. It's Untitled. Cinder said, "Oh, that story. Those boat Negroes died several years past. Before they left, they said, 'Let it be publicly stated, intelligence keeps a person promising virtue before attending to the scar carried from generations of charges and convictions, informants and constables, habits and keepers of a system demeaning. Nothing's changed. Captains of our lost homelands still reign. Even 5-year-olds get no relief. Same thing with Indian land. 6 weeks ago, plain for all to see, body bags delivered instead of PPE. That we should be guided by our left elbow to somehow prove intelligence, or likewise prove that we had or had a head for anything, the greatest sin. It shall be publicly stated near the big Confederate statue in the town square. We're aiming along the Z-axis, northward, meaning purchase towards sky, going somewhere in our own direction. Do what you like with the things we leave on the beach." Next one's a little lighter, Watering a Succulent Plant. The water dried on my skin and left lines of salt. He wore a lava when he blew the conch shell. She described the shell sound vermilion like a fireball. He tracked black sand in from the beach. When he swept it, he said, "I hope I don't get any on my fingers." He was referring to the newspaper on the kitchen table, its inky newsprint. On Wednesday, I sat for a portrait photograph for LinkedIn. On Thursday, I traced. I fingered each finger hole, pushed my fingertips into the flute's depressions. Wail and woe make a halo around the tips of my digits. Hold on to the aluminum handrail. It may keep you safe while descending the declivity. Same thing that clay thought when water forced it through the pot as it looked at the mesh screen before going through the drainage hole and landing on the redwood deck. Thank you.
Thank you, Shawna. It's fun getting to hear your series as you keep coming back to more and more open mics, getting to hear new parts of it. So I enjoy that a lot. Thank you. Next up to the mic, we have Andrea Jacobo. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. These are a series of poems of love of different parts of my life. So I have like 3 little small poems. January 10th, 2014, 1:23 p.m. A golden ring weaved with love and trust is found, delicate as a flower, strong as a grounded root, a bond of 2 souls connecting one another, a mere reflection of one another, without changing one's own truth. Like a wilt of a petal by a fingerprint, the spiraling threads loses itself, and when a piece from within surfaces, a pattern interrupted, driven by ego, shaming the former, hurting the latter. A true trial of bond strength. Lovely soul, it is here that ego dies, one says. Ego has no place here. It is through the death of I, us will emerge, says the other. A bond is as strong as one weaves it. Use compassion and empathy in each interlacing loop, for love and trust is the mirror of the two. The next one is a little different. It's shifts. December 10th, 2019, 8:58 p.m. Sometimes you have to break down to rebuild. Here I am picking up the pieces that left off as I was, trying to push, shake life, the negative letters and words that met with the push. Sometimes you have to rebuild to break down, to rebuild back up. I thought we were going to the next level, but when I found us there, my intuition pulled me back. And with a lump in my throat, back to where you wanted me. In my place, in my pain, in my loaf. Back to where? Sometimes you have to break down to rebuild. I search for reasons to continue to love you and all of your shortcomings while you try to bury mine. To a place where you were able to mold me, belittle me, and take my. Sometimes you have to rebuild to break down, to rebuild my autonomy. You support me, you challenged me, you made this into a lesson, life. The last piece is present day. My animals are going crazy with me right now, so please mind that. The last thing, thank you 2020 for making it clear that if my man it ain't sacándome a bailar una salsa from the drums of the ancestral past and speaking the love language of the Caribbean, merengue, bachata, palo, then it ain't serving my soul. If my universal being ain't at City Hall shouting, no justice, no peace, ¿qué justicia sería eso? Entonces, it ain't serving my soul. The uprising is not within the streets, it's within me. It's within you. Letting go what no longer serves you. The revolution will be televised in our fists the revolution will be televised in our fists, either on the line or intertwined, juntito, bailando the love of our clashing revolution, self, global. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those pieces. And I'm really enjoying how there's this kind of theme of talking about love in so many different forms throughout tonight, which is really lovely. Next up, we have Tricia Cochee. Welcome, Tricia. Do we have Tricia with us?
Oh, yes. Hi.
Wonderful.
Okay. Sorry. Actually, can you go to the next person?
Sure.
Okay.
We'll
All
come
right.
back.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, let's have Zouhair Mussa. Welcome to the mic.
What's poppin'? Can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. This poem called Warrior. My dogs and I practice self-awareness, and the freedom it gives us make them nervous. Since young as we got used to this box, keep quiet and suffer in silence. Since a younger used to painting body armor on every centimeter of my limbs, I shielded myself from myself before anyone ever acknowledged my stealth. Now I'm torn between my will to fight and my right to peace. My brain is a war zone, and I fear I'll turn my body to ruins if I don't learn how to confront the soldiers knocking on my doorstep. Because they got something way worse than bullets. They got mirrors that shed light on what I've become. I see bullet holes fighting with school books. I see that little kid with the prayer beads in his hands confused. You don't remember the day prayer beads turned to blunt rolling and skipping class, but he do remember when they turned to fists. And before that, guns made from thin air. I thank him every day his imagination stopped that flesh and didn't progress to steel. Through all this commotion, my prayer hands stood tall, but the weight of the prayers changed. I'm trapped in a web of self-awareness. I find myself choosing between self-acceptance and self-reliance. Is it possible to expose myself and still be able to count on me? If me just getting my strength, shadow my she was fighting demons in silence before she ever passed it down to me. I learned to associate strength with suffering because the hardest motherfuckers I know been through hell and back. They still standing 10 toes. I'm talking seeing more death than a Grim Reaper, only to end up waking up, working 3 jobs overtime, worrying about your baby because he home alone, and your faith in this world is coming to a close. Around these ends it get rough. Don't nobody want to meet you on the brighter side, but they gonna say they root for you while you stuck in the trenches. I swear I don't feel nothing no more. Don't nothing feel real no more. Even the roses outside look like they struggling to grow. But still I'ma fight. I got war in my veins. I'm saying that's my mama, she witnessed both sides. From the fights in Sudan to proving my dog in Oakland, I made my fists in West Oakland. Just look at the scars on my knuckles. They sharp as hell. My family back home will be proud. I come from a long line of Sudanic warriors, the ones that whooped the British ass, just how I come from a long line of resistance. I'm talking West Oakland Black Panthers, the one that had the police shaking in their drawers. You know exactly what I'm on. Since a youngin', I got used to keep quiet and suffer in silence. Since a youngin' used to painting body armor on every centimeter of my body, I shielded myself from myself before anyone ever acknowledged my stealth. I was taught that pain equals strength. Now I'm torn between my will to fight and my right to peace. My brain is a war zone, and I fear I'll turn my body to ruins if I don't learn how to confront the soldiers knocking on my doorstep. Because this time they got something way worse than bullets. They got mirrors that shed light on how lost I am. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. You have a great cadence to your poetry. I loved hearing it. All right, Tricia, are you ready?
Yes, thank you. Foretold in the language of dreams and past lives. Roundhouse, nestled in the arms of Santa Cruz Forest. Cocooned our aloha, encircled our island matrimony. Cradled our steps as we crossed its threshold. Round kitchen, round pots of peanut stew and egusi, jollof rice and ackee. Bellies full, African spice, aroma teases our noses for seconds. Round windows, fireplace gaze. See the soon come storm, but we dance to our marriage, swaying to the reggae beat of Alpha Blondie. We use Oyes and Shango's lightning and thunder, not as warning, but as aphrodisiac. He, the artist, everything he touched becomes his masterpiece. His angular, tanned arms embrace my soft, round hips as his canvas. Round breasts on round pillows invite his kiss on round bed as his lips meet mine, round midnight rain. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that piece. So I'm going to read a couple pieces and then introduce our feature for this evening. Let's see. I'm realizing that I just need to be doing some more writing because I was trying to go back in my archive and find new or old pieces, but I just clearly need to write more. So I'm going to do an older piece. Let's see. This one is entitled Loose Change. 250 plus 325 minus 1530. And the difference is the air in my lungs still being there when I get dropped off on my front step. I hope you still remember PEMDAS. $9.55. Nothing but loose change in the scheme of life, because some guy with a rolled down window on a cold autumn night thinks it's a good idea to say, "Sweetie, where's you going?" So I write poetry in the front seat of my Lyft as I contemplate how the night could have gone if I stayed just a little too long at that deserted bus stop. At least I made it home in one piece. Do you know what it feels like to budget your own freedom? To save up to buy your own safety? To coupon your way home to a warm bed at night? Not all of us even got that. And the price of a home is for another conversation. But we'll have it anyways. Someone once said, we all got houses. We all got homes, whether we got houses or not. If I had an altar I knew what to do with, I'd count my blessings. Because one of my homes still got two parents under the same roof, and another I call my own by the luck of a few zeros on a bi-monthly paycheck. And sometimes I'm lucky enough to have the warm embrace of a friend turned lover be just one more place I call home. But that's just sometimes. See, home is something you make for yourself, whether it's got four walls and a front door, or just the key to making you laugh until your tears dress up as joy. I guess I write a lot about home because I'm learning that home is where you are. Maybe this is all to say, I'm still trying to find myself. And I will do one more and then introduce our feature. Let's see. My father always sits facing the door, back to wall, never back to another person, never back to uncertain window. You think you will always be 3 steps ahead of your next surprise, till my birth is one of them. I remember the day he sent a metal screw through the flesh of his forearm and drove himself to the hospital. Drill bit still in place, one hand on the steering wheel. You could say we have tough skin. Badges of honor decorate my father's calloused hands. I would not exist if he went to war. Did you know they named a street after us? A place to call our own, to say we've been here before, to mark our spot in a city. See, sawdust is just the afterlife of all things breathing, and oh, how his air names comfort and silence. Nostalgia is the color of all 6 of his layers. I recognize him in the color green, and now sometimes purple. My father has taught me many things. 4 layers is too few. The past is a treasure. Never leave without your coat. Never leave. Thank you. And with that, I'm very excited to introduce Darius Simpson, who is our featured poet for this evening. Darius is a writer, educator, performance artist, disruptor, and skilled living room dancer from Akron, Ohio. He received his BA in political science from Eastern Michigan University, and he is a candidate for his MFA in creative writing poetry from Mills College. His work is featured on platforms such as Huffington Post, Mic, TEDx, Button Poetry, as well as others. Darius aims for a more liberated self through writing in order to work towards building a more liberated society through his life. Welcome, Darius.
Hey, y'all. What's up? First of all, I want to start with happy birthday to Ida B. Wells and Assata Shakur. I'm going to start with a lot of things. I'm going to start with this poem by Assata. Shout out to, who were the first 3 poets? Melissa, Kay, and Kai for bringing in the element of the butterfly. This joint by Assata, one of my favorite images in this poem, really in this book, involves butterflies. I selected it before, so shout out to y'all for invoking the butterfly before. If you haven't already, get Assata Shakur's autobiography. Read her words, read her work, and same with Ida B. Wells. Okay, so the poem in this book is called Leftovers, What is Left? After the bars and the gates and the degradation, what is left? After the lock-ins and the lockouts and the lockups, what is left? I mean, after the chains that get entangled in the gray of one's matter, after the bars that get stuck in the hearts of men and women, what is left? After the tears and disappointments, after the lonely isolation, after the cut wrist and the heavy noose, what is left? I mean, like, after the commissary kisses and the get your shit off blues, after the hustler has been hustled, what is left? After the murder burgers and goon squads and tear gas, after the bulls and the bullpens and the bullshit, what is left? Like, after you know that God can't be trusted, after you know that the shrink is a pusher, that the word is a whip, and the badge is a bullet, what is left? After you know that the dead are still walking, after you realize that silence is still talking, that outside and inside are just an illusion, what is left? I mean, like, where is the sun? Where are her arms and where are her kisses? There are lip prints on my pillow. I am searching. What is left? I mean, like, nothing is standstill and nothing is abstract. The wing of a butterfly can't take flight. The foot on my neck is part of a body. The song I sing is part of an echo. What is left? I mean, like, love is specific. Is my mind a machine gun? Is my heart a hacksaw? Can I make freedom real? Yeah, what is left? I am at the top and bottom of a lower hierarchy, I am an earth lover. From way back, I am in love with losers and laughter. I am in love with freedom and children. Love is my sword and truth is my compass. What is left? Yeah. Really appreciate that book for, first of all, before reading it, I had no idea Assata was a poet. Shout out to our public education system. But really, yeah, just the writing throughout, but particularly the poems that fall at the end of chapters. Yeah. Hey, y'all, so weird to not get responses that when I say, hey. I'm really excited to be on here. Thank you, Nia, for having me. And I think it's really dope to be on with folks that, there are some folks in here that have known me since I was a child and some folks that have only met me through Zoom open mic things. So it's dope to have the range and everything in between. And those are all the words. I'm gonna do 6 poems. The first 3 are in a series I'm writing about Victor Steen. Victor Steen is a 17-year-old Black boy who was killed by Pensacola police in 2009. And I think thinking about this moment and organizing and the words we use to define ourselves and the work that we're up to, I think about like what it took to radicalize me. And I think for everyone that is radicalized eventually or continuously, there are these moments of breaking. And I remember the first moment for me was 2014 with Mike Brown. Because up to that point, yes, I knew race. Yes, I knew racism. But it was like, this was something that I could not move past. Like I refused to accept as how the world would be. And so I was trying to stay up on what was happening with Mike Brown. And I found myself searching on Google, Black boy killed by police. And to this point, you know, I knew names like Trayvon Martin, even Sean Bell, but not much deeper than that. So I started searching Black boy killed by police, and I'm trying to keep up on Mike Brown. And I find all these other names, all these other stories from years back, people I'd never heard of, videos I'd never seen. In the first video of a murder like this from state violence was Victor Steen. And so his story really stands out to me. Yeah, eventually the poems will get into what happened, but I think that's enough context. So this first one is called, Ma'am, I'm sorry. Oh, wait, okay, real quick, sorry. So the police killed him, and then some quick context. They waited 2 days to tell his mother via phone what had happened to him. The way in particular in which they killed him, that he was by a police site or by a construction site, which is a police site if you really think about it. And he was on his bike and they pulled up unnecessarily, chased him unnecessarily, tased him out of the window, and then hit him with the police cruiser. So yeah, just quick context for that, for his story. And so this poem starts. Ma'am, I'm sorry to tell you, your son is dangerously good at freeze tag, like ghost good, drenched in red puddles, but on his way, down by the gutter river, ditched laundry beside the sewer hole, drumming water's edge lullabies with mouth on a curb, delivering ripples upstream, dizzy sawdust scattered in moonlit dewgrass, devil horn handsome, should model for caskets, drunken squiggles soaking cement, dye staining black tar as we speak, drawing graffiti on his stomach with paint from his stomach, decoration for this new holiday you will both never forget and never celebrate, deflated bounce house blocking traffic, deer shown in headlights mimicking boyhood, dirt pinned between the tracks of my tires, doomed, dough kneaded into sidewalk cracks, driftwood floating in molasses, driftwood spinning in spine sap, driftwood sinking by the minute, dancing, dandelion seeds ripped from scalp stem by some invisible unforgiving, dense weight in exchange for a shorter shift, dummy after a crash test, dripping in gold sweat. If you don't come collect him, the bank will deposit his remains as a non-graduation gift. Definitely strong as he looks, double tough as steel beams. Ma'am, I threw 1,000 pounds at him and he didn't even flinch. Matter of fact, it's been 2 days and he hasn't moved any of his limbs. And there's a footnote at the bottom of the poem. It says, police cruisers may be used as a weapon if deemed necessary force. So that's the end of the first poem. This next one is called Approximation. Yeah, so y'all getting this, these are all new things. This is like straight out of the Google Doc. In an attempt to write about Victor in the way I've been trying to for a couple of years and in new forms. And so these next two poems, they have information above the poem, which I don't know how I feel about it yet, but it's there now. So, you know, y'all getting this raw, this new thing. So it's called Approximation. Pensacola PD waited approximately 2 days before calling Victor Steen's mother, using his cell phone to notify her of what they'd done to her child. While she waited, 2 million dead skin cells parachuted like desperate pilots towards matted carpet. 576,000 flutters flew from a single hummingbird beating its wings near sugar water. 172,812 little ticks clicked around the face of a wristwatch ziplocked in an evidence locker. 57,600 artificial eyelash bats bounced just below tears swelling by the hour. 2,500 steps shuffled past a doorway with an unmade bed. 48-hour killer cops pretended not to know who did it. 14 moments of whenever she thought she heard a door creak. 13 recitals of where is that boy? 11 requests for updates from his older brother. 11 responses from the cousin who was not with him. 10 teeth sanding preemptive grief across enamel. 9 fingernails bitten into jagged rocks by a steady erosive stream of anxiety. 7 phone calls cast like an unbaited fishing hook into a lake shallow as a grave. 5 hollow threats for her phantom child. 3 frantic voicemails addressed to a ghost still forming. 2 nights of foot tapping in the living room. 2 news cycles spun like a web without catching his name. 2 shifts at work passed. Fear picking at the memory of him like a scab. 2 fistfuls of rage mixed relief, ready to deflate his chest when he 2 handlebars folded like a paper clip after the collision, like used cotton napkin after a 5-star dinner, like kneecaps confused about which direction is home. 2 street sweepings delayed by police tape. 2 arms shoveling a white sheet over this small hill of a body cold as snow. 1 dishwasher did not run. 1 bag of trash was not taken to the dumpster. 1 son sat set like a headstone, waiting for her too. That's the end of that poem. This next one is called Word Problems. The officer who killed Victor Steen was estimated to be traveling around 15 miles per hour when he tased and then ran him over with his police cruiser. Florida Highway Patrol ruled that no laws were broken in this act. At 15 miles per hour, 1,000 pounds is 166 bricks on wheels. Is a paid vacation for the driver. Is no question of if you'll live, but what fraction of you will be left over. After 1,000 pounds, at 15 miles per hour, the boy is sheet metal folded at the feet of a flickering street light. The boy is blueprints discarded next to unfinished wood and bundles of rebar. The boy is a tomorrow unraveling in the crosshairs of a public servant. The boy is a brownish red syrup dripping from malicious motor. The boy is both as child and as grown as the headline and his skin tone dictates. Against 1,000 pounds at 15 miles per hour, a 17-year-old boy is ripped tissue paper. A 17-year-old boy is bubble-wrapped lungs. A 17-year-old boy is not even an hour of paperwork. A 17-year-old boy is what happens when a shadow moves too freely. At 15 miles per hour, 1,000 pounds is a bullet sent to do a handcuffs job. Is move, bitch, get out the way. Are you okay is an insult. Don't you die on me is an anchor thrown into drowning arms. CPR is a bad joke the 17-year-old throat can no longer laugh at. The eventual gun that fabricates and flattens 17-year-old hands is clockwork, is calculated. And so that's the end of those 3 poems. Victor. These next 3 are a little more lighthearted. I'm just gonna do them. I'm gonna do the poems and then I'm gonna stop talking. If I'm caught between a badge and a hard place, 3 hours after the streetlights turn on, will you church it? Will you pass it down and up every aisle until it reaches the whole congregation? Will you tithe it? Will you stretch it thin like goat skin over the shell of a djembe drum? Will you slap it? Will you let the echo dance naked in the wet cave of your throat? Will you bark it? Will you sing it like my mother is listening? Will you inhale until your lungs nearly burst, then inhale some more, then will you say my name? Will you put some stank on it? Will you juke joint it? Will you thick? Will you chew it slow? Will you mac and cheese it? Will you to spread the flavor over your tongue? Will you let it marinate? Will you serve it with Sunday dinner? If you say my name and cast iron skillets don't start rattling, that means you ain't say it loud enough. Will you say it again? If a redwood don't split open from the trunk, that means you ain't pronounce it right. Will you say it again? Will you name a city of fire after me? Will you paint downtown a scorching hue? Will you stain the sky in black smoke? Will you tell ghost stories of me? Over the ashes of this empire, will you scream it? Will you stand in the clutter of rush hour traffic to let them know what kind of boots I wore? Will you stomp it into the soil of the last place I laughed with my whole body? Will you dance it? Will you Saturday night praise it? Will you tambourine it? Will you drunken favorite song shout it? Will you full moon howl it? Will you shriek? Will you chant? Will you live? Will you cry? For me, will you? This second to last poem. These last two are about, I'm just gonna read them. I'm not gonna say what they're about. Yep, this one is called Last Call. I say I need to drink less, and tonight is the third night in a row that my left hand is a short glass of whiskey. Does that make me a liar or an escape artist? And does it really make a difference on a San Francisco Sunday where the shoreline is coughing up hazmat suits, haze of unclearing throats meandering toward a blue, pink, gold Pacific backdrop? N95 means more to civilians now than it should. Election season means we may not make it to the ballot, and perhaps this disaster was man-made. Perhaps if we had emptied more magazines in the right direction, there would be less obituary on the east side this morning. My therapist, who is neither licensed nor a therapist, speaks fluent empty shot glass, exchanges horror stories from the work week across a wooden countertop confessional. He asks, "What you running from?" I say, "You right." Pour another one and watch me never run anywhere again. Either it goes down gasoline or ice water. Either way, our session ends with my legs stuttering into a dance floor. To be clear, after 2 drinks, anywhere my left foot lands is a dance floor. And I'm floating toward the sweet spot in the crowd, where bent knees begat spiraling backs, where sweat is offered up in praise to the DJ's intuition. Hooked elbows swung around the neck of my new best friend, who was a stranger 30 seconds ago. Until that one song, when the entire venue faded to background noise, while we, gods of saltwater skin, uncles who inherited the groove from our grandfathers, backyard 2-step practitioners, challenged by, "What you know about this?" and trained to kill that shit, fastened our eyes on the precision of each other's pop lock, mirrored lean with rock and Harlem shake with Dougie. One of us cast an A spell, while the other spun the floor into red velvet, twisted the air into a Thanksgiving kitchen humid. Liquor has a funny way of ironing the wrinkles out of introductions. So 3 or 4 shots or hours or bathroom breaks in, there we were, bouncing limbs in the middle of no one's living room. For a split second, thought we might have been immortal. If we just drank enough midnight, if we absorbed enough brown elixir. But we know what moonlight does to Black bodies when the music stops. What uniformed wolves linger beyond the overwhelming exchange between bass drum and eardrum. How quickly the end of a song can bleed into a more lasting quiet. Happy endings are for white women. Glass slippers were invented by white men. Glass slippers make for a messy dance floor. Glass slippers make it hard to run from sirens. So there's one more poem. This last joint is thinking about, I said I wasn't gonna say anything, but here I am saying something. Thinking about why Black folks are not staying and going inside right now during the pandemic, and trying to figure out how I feel about it, how I felt about it. I definitely talk to people, and it's ranged from like this place of extreme joy, like, yeah, y'all better break the rules, but also go inside because I don't want any of you to die. There's enough of us dying for other reasons. Stay inside. And so like this is dancing with that contradiction and that spectrum of feelings. It's called And It Don't Stop. Marvin Gaye's lyrics drip slow honey out of the boombox. Layers of smooth talk spilling over aluminum pots. Between the simmer pot of canola oil. Backyard full of red Kool-Aid grins with drumstick bones for teeth. Sucked clean. Full lips licked by moist Midwest July air. Brown skin battered in lotion and deep fried by sunlight. Rainbow plastic barrettes percussing against the slick shine of hair grease. Inside the spinning nucleus of blurred jump ropes. Tiny relentless stomps beating a familiar song into asphalt chalk. Tender rib meat pressed against every other mouth like a protective mask. Cigarello smoke, thick molasses dribbling off the bottom lip of all men in attendance over 30. Plastic tip if you're old school. Wood tip if you fancy. Wine flavored if you looking for a +1 to disappear the night with. At all times, red solo cup hands are itching for a dance partner. Itching for a melody that curls hips into a question about the space around them. At all times, there is a fold-out card table huddled with hunched backs. Grown folks slapping something white and black against the tabletop. Might be bones, might be spades, might be dice. At all times, not your child is asking you for a bite of something you did not cook. And your grandmother is bent over a lit stovetop performing surgery, and your auntie is taking notes by the sink for her apprenticeship, and your other auntie is patrolling the yard, passing out water, so no one blacks out or throws a punch, at least not until the kids get their plates, and your big cousin is in a car down the street, breaking down a whole forest worth of green into a paper tunnel. And this is the scene for the 112th day in a row. 4 months ago, a bad excuse for a stand-up imperialist said, national emergency. After bodies had already piled, some folks recognized negligence by how many times a president blinks during a speech. Some homes never floated again after hurricane season, so some of us learned the language of genocide as government assistance, offered posthumously. This new name for contagious death says it means to swallow equal parts of this country, and does not know there are no equal parts of this country. In response, we, who survive all things levied against us, decide if we gon' die, shit, we might as well dance. And it started in a backyard on the east side, with the jingle of a chrome chain collar around a Rottweiler's neck, sounded like makeshift Frankie Beverly cover, and it spread to all the houses on the block until the whole neighborhood burst into a coordinated line shuffle, stretching through liquor store intersections and up the side of telephone poles and on the top layer of pool water and pool tables, and it spread like a virus from one hood to the next. Niggas of all hair lengths and skin types two-stepping in unison to the tune of another Armageddon that swears it won't discriminate like the last one. So we fixed it a styrofoam to-go plate, equipped with 2 protective layers of foil, a slice of pound cake individually wrapped in silver. And soon, you can't tell the difference between the last song at one cookout or the first song at the next, which makes yesterday seem like only rumors of white quarantine tents and military attacks on poverty and failed healthcare. And look, it's not that pandemic don't sound like serious business, but we tried going out in prayer, and in protest, and in front lawns, and on balconies. And if this might be a repeat of our last failed rebellion, let the bass be so loud, we can't hear the bodies drop. Thank you. That is the end. The last piece. Thank y'all for having me.
Tremendous, Darius.
That was incredible. You've truly taken us from like the depths of so much pain all the way so much joy. Like you brought us a joyous rebellion, and I think that is absolutely beautiful. And before you close your set, I just wanted to ask if you can put in the chat how people can support you, find more of your work, whether you like any information about a book, all of that. Please put in the chat because I know folks want to support and find more of your poetry. Great, thank you. And I'm going to put the readers for the second half in the chat as well, just so that we know. Again, if your name wasn't called and you joined late, just send me a message if you were on the original lineup. So to start off our second half, I'd like to invite Venus Jones up to the mic. Welcome. Thank you so much. This is, I mean, it's so great to be here, and I just want to give that pump for my cousin. Oh my gosh. Darius is my cousin, and he is amazing. I love everything that he just did. It was so great. I just want to say, and not just because he's my cousin, but I guess I want to say I want to read two poems. One is an old piece that I'm known for called "A Woman, a Man," but I want to read something from 1987. This piece where I was at Mills too, and I was working with Mark Bamufi Joseph, and this poem is one of a collection of 13 poems, but it's called Panic Flip. And it mentions somebody you both know. So, you've bounced from East Canton, Ohio, to Akron Garfield. Wait, let me start over. You've bounced from East Canton High to Akron Garfield. You've pledged to keep your mouth shut and to ignore the score. You just want to roar in the lioness den, but you can't. Aunt Barbara buys you a diary you're writing in. Mother thinks reading the Bible every day is better. You finally memorize Psalms 23 in the book. You want to memorize I'm Bad by LL in secret. Mommy, mother is strict. She says, just finish your classes. You feel misunderstood. How come everyone else can do what they want, how they want, when they want, but you can't? She trusts Salim and his big brother to drive you to school. They decide to play this new song. So tell us what you think. You listen, clench your fists, ask them to press pause and say, ugh. So that's just a little bit of a memoir that I'm working on that is called Pinball Machine 13. So hopefully you'll get a chance to hear more of it later. So, but I'm gonna do another piece really quick called A Woman, a Man that I'm more known for. Because in 1987, hip hop was changing. So I speak on hip hop a little bit in this piece, but also the church and our government, because I know a lot of us want to see more female leaders. Let me hear you say, amen. Somebody say it again. You see, a man destroyed my home when he left a woman alone. A man made me groan, then he changed his tone. A man ripped off my shirt and he groped me in a crowd. A man yelled, look at her stupid ass. And he laughed real loud. He didn't see me as his sister, friend, or a mother. Oh no, I was simply the foe. A female, a woman, a hoe. A man made me feel like I couldn't say no. Misogynist is the title of these artists who find instant fame simply by calling a female outside her name. But this kind of music is not banned in your store. Why? Mama bought it for a man. Somebody say amen. And the CD case is on her daughter's bedroom floor. Because as long as a woman sees herself as less than, a man doesn't have to be more. Somebody said we need a woman of state. Somebody say a woman. Wait a minute. 1 Timothy chapter 2, verse 11 through 14 is cause for debate. Now quiet as is kept. King James was openly bisexual. He never knew his mother and he passed on more chauvinistic than homophobic traits. Kings are rightly called gods, he'd say. And if you don't believe my version, it's hell. You'll pay. Well, today, if you really want to see equal economic opportunity, sister, clean up your inner temple and then help organize your community. And can I get my brother to cherish a parental role that is not based in your gender fate? I mean, could you imagine every single man knowing how to fix his own plate? And if your son has a sense of male pride, I say, let him play with the doll and nurture the father inside. Maybe your daughter can learn how to protect herself just in case someone decides to run and hide. That's when the violence will decrease. Can we strive for the 22nd century at least, because your son's war games and his toy soldiers are played out. In the West, North, East, and South, can I get a woman to stop raising these extreme men? I don't want to hear of these types of men again.
For it is a woman that we have all passed through. Therefore, to every woman respect is due. So when we say amen, can we say a woman too? And may this new sense of balance be the much needed glue. Okay, well, let us pray. Dear Creator, Mother and Father God of the heavens and the earth, may each and every one of your creations feel a sense of worth. May harmony and balance return to our visions again. Let it be so, and so it is. A woman. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you so much for both those pieces. And I love the way that you read poetry. And it makes me wish that we were all in person, because I know people were trying to do the call and response and want to speak back, and we will get back there one day. Thank you. Next up to the mic, we have Stacey Montez. Welcome, Stacey.
Good evening, and thank you, everybody. I'm just in awe to be in your company. I write in a very abbreviated style, so I'm going to give you three very short micro poems. She slays over cliches that dismays everyone who is dried, tried, laid aside to become fruit leather, ingested, digested, perfected into waste that nourishes, blossoms, a seed of hope. Observing nature was still a New York minute into a slow crawl. And my last one I wrote, inspired by everything shared tonight. Tonight's shared word speaks loudly that we still create beautiful poems. Thank you.
Thank you, Stacey, for those lovely pieces. And I love that you wrote that last one just now in response to everyone's. It's such a cool process. So thank you. Next up, I would like to invite Avotcja up to the mic. Welcome, Avotcja.
Hey, folks, you folks have been awesome this evening. I'm just full. I mean, wow, what can I say? I have two pieces. I heard someone, a young woman who was born in West Oakland, where I live, say that I belong to the West Coast Blues Society, and we were doing a thing on the history of Oakland, West Oakland, and she said West Oakland has always been lousy, slum, and what have you, and that we didn't know what we were talking about. So I want to do these for her and for those folks who don't realize that they don't. Anyway, this is called The Empress of 7th Street, for those of you who remember Esther Mabry, and Esther's Orbit's Room, and it goes like this. Esther Mabry was Texas to the bone, a hard-working, no-nonsense, hip country girl. A blue spirit got her up with the break of dawn, and a love supreme energized her culinary mojo. And undefeated, she was reborn with each new day. Esther Mabry watched. She stood her ground proudly, firmly, refused to be scared away, watched as her restaurant and bar became a parking lot for an oversized post office, and Slim Jenkins' supper club was run over by the bar. Esther Mabry watched. Undefeated, she moved across the street and watched as the blue magic of her world began to shrink around her, and the spiritless steam shovels greased the pockets of the cultureless greedy, stood refusing to bend as heartless speculators bought and paid for the souls of short-sighted neighbors, and the remaining hungry helped 7th Street disintegrate. By thinking with their stomachs and throwing away their history, she was the last soldier standing. I say, she was the last soldier standing. West Oakland's last remaining warrior queen, a fearless, undefeatable guide, so strong even death was intimidated by her courageous tenacity. And time stood petrified, fascinated by the blue strength of her stubborn self-respect. It was no easy job trying to overpower her. This one little old powerhouse of a lady wasn't going to back down. Esther Mabry, a straight-in-your-face, unapologetic blues woman, the reigning empress of 7th Street, never gave up. Her tough but regal dignity, 90 years intact. And on the day she cashed in her chips, she spit one last time in gentrification's face before she took that final trip to blues heaven. West Oakland's matriarch went to sleep a warrior queen without ever laying down her integrity. Esther Mabry danced proudly into the arms of the ancestors, a triumphant blue spirit waiting to be reborn. And this last piece is called When Heaven Lived on 7th Street. I was introduced to 7th Street by L.C. Goodrock and Robinson, who you all should know about, and if you don't, do your history. An amazing musician. I think he was the Coltrane of the blues. But anyway, Oaktown Blue is more than just a poem, more than just another choreographed play full of fantastic $100 cliches about Oakland. Even before the overwhelming flamboyant drama of the live stage, even without all the flash of show-stopping dancers and singers and musicians, I could feel it waiting to be born. Oaktown Blue is a poetic dance, a musical theater piece with or without the theater about the beauty of Oakland, the amazing, remarkable, unsung history of a forgotten West Oakland. Oaktown Blue is a hymn, a modern-day praise song of a not so long ago time, a time when West Oakland was economically and culturally the only place to be. Days when 7th Street was a montage of superstars, rising stars, falling stars, and armies of wide-awake and wide-eyed wannabes, just waiting for their days to be recognized as one of the major stars, strutting their stuff, looking good, clean, making sure they were going to be seen strolling around, up and down the street, 7th Street. 7th Street was our heartbeat, the royal highway of our stars. 7th Street was the promised land, our heaven on earth, a place where we walked proud and were free to be real. Oaktown Blue is also a story of days when the California Hotel was Swank City. Our regal crosstown playground, our very own Hilton, was rocking every night with dance halls full of all kinds of jazz and blues concerts and mambo sessions. It's a theatrical tale about the coming together of disoriented Black sharecroppers, lonely imported Filipino men, Black entrepreneurs, Latin dancers, masons, intellectuals, and slicksters. Oaktown Blue is a love poem, full of all the joy and sadness and the indescribable pain of naively, unexpected, inescapable racist degradation, and dance hall battles and the musical wars and the courage to do better that went into making Oakland a West Coast blues mecca. Oaktown Blue is my way of saying thank you to all those spirits still roaming all over every inch of 7th Street. I have not forgotten. And if you are not afraid of listening to the many loud and restless blue souls that are still out there trying to give you back your history, they're waiting. They've been waiting a long time, a terribly long time to meet you. And if you really listen, you're going to hear them singing wildly and moaning like a homesick whisper in the night wind. Are you brave enough to hear what they have to say? Don't be afraid to feel the feelings, because they won't leave you alone until you give them all the credit they're due. They've been calling, and they're still calling. Can you hear them singing songs of a time when heaven lived on 7th Street and the blues swaggered proudly out of every door and every open window? They're still out there. They're still trying to slow dance you into a corner, pour blue fire all over your soul and creep into the deepest, most secret part of your heart. Can you feel them? I ask you, can you feel them? I dare you to feel their message and heal. Their story is your story. And even though the power brokers who write the reference books have never even considered West Oakland worthy of being written about in history, it is our story. Oaktown Blue is all about you. Thank you for listening to my words. Oh, and our poetry series, 4th Saturday of the month, I'll put it down here. You got to register in there and be part of it. So thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you, everybody else.
Thank you so
I'll
much.
be the featured reader next. Right? Tell them.
Thank you so much, Avotcja. Truly, your words carry history, and you know so well how to write the memory of a place. And all we can do is pay attention and keep remembering. So thank you for those. And yes, do please put your event in the chat so more people can go and attend and make sure they register. Next up, we have Cheryl Dawson. Welcome, Cheryl. Oh, I think you're on mute. There we go.
Here we go. So first of all, I give my honor to each of you. To each of you, I sincerely thank you that you, and I sincerely thank the heavens that aligned us here together. And I'll just use the I phrase. I'll say, my soul, I, Cheryl Ann, My soul has been fed today, and I thank each of you for that. I do. So I will read one writing. It's a short writing, and I just want to put it on the table as one of the many dishes that we have on our holidays. You know, when we go to Big Mama's house, well, Big Mama's me now, but you could go to Big Mama's house and, you know, all the different foods are on the table and you get to say, I think I like this, or I think I like it all. So here's one dish to go on the table. I call this the breaking. I am tearing now. My fabric is frayed and my tears show through. There's anger on the beat of the drum, the very pulse inside me that pushes and pulls. There's ripping now. I hear the separation in the thread of my own context. I hear my brothers calling for their mothers. I hear George's call at the end, Mama. I hear Elijah McClain's call at the end, Mama, Mama. I believe George's mother heard her son in a time-bending arc of connection. She felt the agony ring out over the universe. Mama, Mama. I believe Elijah's mother heard her son. I know that she felt the agony ring true out and over the universe. Mama, Mama. My soul is broken again. The pieces are scattered on the floor. They surround me like pastel petals thrown at my feet in decadent abundance. They fall down with the weight of our individual and our collective grief. They fall in silent cadence like whispers in the wind. Our ancestors bear silent witness as we scream and as we cry together. Brother Marvin's question is contemporary and historical. Oh, what's going on? What's going on? Unfortunately, there is more to grieve and more to carry. There are the names and there are the spirits now unknown to me that met death as a consequence of being Black. This is a backbending burden strapped to the very essence of who I am. I accept the load willingly with incredible sadness. I admit my responsibility for my people to carry our memories and to hold on to our collective lived experience. My heart does respond to my connection. My heart responds to the kidnap of a people. It responds to the torture, the rape, and the watery graves offered up in cruel, resolute respite. I continue. My words strain to hold the weight. They tumble and shift, varying in their effort to lift and to open what is known to us but denied by others. It is a quiet, raging death that we carry, for the rules of contractual and consensual agreement which define the perimeter as well as the rules of the road stand in blatant opposition to our very right to life. How to bring light to the dark so that the world can see remains the quandary at hand. Subsequently, my words, these letters, are strung together like old beads on a new string. The string will split and tear with the ravage of repeat offenses and duplicate horror. When time makes the call, I will knit a new string comprised of my fear, my hopes, and my tears. Well, I pray and work not to have another replication, knowing in my soul that we desperately need a new set of circumstance, a completely unprecedented direction, a do-over, if you will. The words shimmer and shake, they gather like the speed of clouds streaming through the Louisiana afternoon sky. They hurry and accumulate the strength of the ages, and they proceed as they persist and as they move. When the winds establish dominion, ushering in the promise of rain, heaven makes a shift to gray, and the rain understands that all is in perpetual season and motion, all in the arc of time. My words scramble during the storm, cognizant that when there is a general abeyance and the forecast is once again visible, they will reconvene, holding a clear view and adding yet another weight in the general burden of sight and survival. These words, these valiant posts of right living and strength in consciousness hold against the pending implosion for today. Or I cannot claim tomorrow just now. Let me hold and breathe. Let me take life in a life-saving breath of pristine air, untarnished by the repeat set of trauma that makes the wallpaper of my life. Let me hold out as I feel the pressure mounting within my own existence. And as my words shift with me, I am still a viable container for the plight of my people. I hold steady, I am solid, even as the grief and the anger threaten my determination and my hope. I am whole through my words and through my experience as they twist and turn in fractious relationship. This is today. The breaking may be tomorrow. That's it.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much. Your words are they're so thoughtful and reflective. And so I appreciate you bringing them to the table today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next up, I would like to invite the lovely Tarita McKell. Welcome, Tarita.
Hi, how are you? Wow. Amazing, amazing, always amazing. And well, I'm looking to hear from Sarai right after me. There's just so much, and Darius, and oh my Lord. Oh my goodness, James, well, you know, James, what can we say? Okay, I'm, let me get started here. Things I wanted to deal more on an inner kind of reflection on our inner nature, and deal with what we've been told to remove. So I'm going to start with this poem called Remember. And I think they're just 3 pieces here. Remember when stars kissed your eyes? You looked at me, talked about the teapot constellation in 77, year of the snake, same year that child was born, remembering she had been here before when she got old enough to explain it. Remember how she'd reach for her mama, quick, smooth like Arunamamu's snake reacting to a sudden gust of wind. She'd move just like that. Real sensitive, that child's arc knowledge tree. Could have birthed more like her in this world if Noah's Ark deluge story hadn't drowned so many sacred spines of every kind. But she made it. We made it. Chariot, let us ride from the other side, where redeemers of dreams abide. You wouldn't know their names, no, more than you or I can count, sealed in eternity's wheel. This little light we shine, we let the vine shine. Who is we, you ask? Our cadres from lives past. Hear them? We do. They got our back. And I'm going to read this piece. Oh my gosh, where did it go? Okay, hold on. And this is from my book, Synchronicity, Origin, Oracles of Sun Medicine. We are soldiers on the battlefield with life light in our eyes, said Sister Sonia. 1994, 23 years after volunteering at the George Jackson Free Health Clinic. The Tribune calls, ask how many guns did you have at the Black Panther Clinic? How many guns? Not how many services were provided, not how many programs were implemented, not how many doctors or healthcare workers volunteered, not even why we put together such a practice with so many programs, with so many hospitals in our community. No, didn't ask any of that. Wanted to know how many guns we had, not how many illnesses or diseases most affected our communities, or how often we screened for diabetes, sickle cell, or checked for high blood pressure, if at all, or what may have been my specialty at the time. I would have told them about certain grains to regain genetic memory, but they were more interested in how many guns we had, not who ran the clinic or what hours or days of the week we were open, or who was our hero or shero to set about such a task that sustains our health needs today. No, the reporter didn't ask any of that. They wanted to know how many guns we had. Black men, women, late teens to 20-something volunteered to become doctors, nurses, pharmacists, and therapists, completed homework between seeing patients. Black volunteers, staff physicians, Dr. Talbot Small and Eddie Newsom, developed methadone programs to destroy heroin dependence, reverse curse of opioid addictions, purposely placed in our neighborhood to weaken the Black power base. We took vital signs, provided prenatal care, kept patients' records, organized charts, med rooms, pharmacy, gave better care than Kaiser dared, held life light in our eyes, books are bullets, educationally armed our right to fight through walls that imprisoned us as drug-infested, gun-carrying, sex-crazed jigaboos. Kwame Ture warned, education in this country makes you stupid, but what is worse, it makes you arrogant in your stupidity. The revolution is coming whether you want it or not. It is coming whether you want it or not. We must be politically prepared. Revolution won't be televised. How many guns did we have? We were soldiers on the battlefield with life light in our eyes. We are soldiers on the battlefield with life light in our eyes. We are soldiers on the battlefield with life light in our eyes. And did you know that there were Africans who could make their enslaver feel pain afflicted? Be it if the tongue were cut out or the foot removed or the eyes were gouged out or they were whipped. Yes, that was possible. This is a Kwansaba, a short piece. It's 7 lines, no more than 7 letters per word, and no more than 7 words per line. Child, you do what you supposed to. Pay them no never mind, you hear? Day's rhythm ain't yours to have ever. Your tongue goes back before days do. Just you study your passion, your light. Shine, baby. Come time, it'll be all right. You listen careful now. We ain't dead. Thank you. And I hope that offered some inner strength. Now, because you go get some more right up in here. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Tarita. Your words always offer us that inner strength that we need every single time. So I appreciate that. Next up to the mic, we have Sarai Bordeaux. Welcome.
Yes, my baby. I have Mama T's book right here. You should buy it. It's right, you should get it.
I'm on page like 3 and I'm already just like, okay, wait. So thank you to Mama T and to all the other folks like calling our ancestors in and like the history of our spaces in, and like Darius for always doing all the things that Darius does. And I feel like way in the beginning, like also kind of talking about like butterflies, my poem's actually called Butterfly. Anyway, so that's just a beautiful like thing like that. I'm wondering how many ways I could have it. Dissonance, anxiety, imagination, a breakdown, box brownies, stillness, healing, a yogurt bowl. I live for those, and smoothies. This healing, more than one schedule, but a solid routine. I'm not really mad at all these choices. It's great to have a different option for every minute. Up, then down, then up, then down. More than one way to lose my shit today or find a piece of my peace today. It really could go either way. I'm also wondering how to reinforce the options that I have chosen when I'm forced to go outside for reals again. Things are going to be different. When I'm forced to go outside for reals again, when I'm forced to leave the neighborhood for things besides groceries and runs again, even runs right now are held down, heavy with remembering this virus has stirred up more things than one could readily count. I'm wondering about interacting in real life again, because I'm doing loneliness like a champion right now, doing alone real well right now. I'm learning that having my ancestors around is different than having people around. Having my intuition around is different than having people around. I'm feeling like I'm gonna be good until there are actually physical people around. And I've had a thing about hugs. Now, I'm concerned, not worried, just some thoughts, because no one finds my jokes funnier than I do right now. No one treats me better than I do right now. No one is being as protective of my energy as I am right now. I've created a force field. And this is because physical public is just not for me right now. A few weeks ago, I was like, I need people. And I'm like, well, it's because I'm over the hump. Every me is my best friend, and that has never been the case. I am not saying I do not miss my folks or want them around ever again. It's just that I like myself more than I like anyone else right now, and that has never been the case. What brings me all the wows, sometimes tears now, is how long I've spent being my own worst enemy, my fakest friend. Fickle, fleeting, forever on some fuck shit, no compassion for me, no levity, every day, the end of time. Upon reflection, I'm realizing that I have spent more on books than I have on food here. I've always spent more than I've saved. It's that I only valued myself by purchasing armor, the seed of these plants, rotting roots in search of the perfect mass, insert connection to mass here now. Bought these books for protection, claimed these authors' thoughts more than I claimed my own thoughts. Thought your thoughts, his thoughts, their thoughts, more than I thought my own thoughts. Weeded through your shit before handling my own. Loved you more than I loved myself. Learned to fuck you before I learned how to please myself no more. I'm accepting this cocoon. My ancestor told me over lizards in the garden, through lizards in the garden. Just today they told me that they claim me. They claim me before I was born. We talked about this. They left their mark, lest I forget, which I had started to. They play zero games about me now. Well, maybe a few, because our ancestors existed in joy too. Remember, they said, it's okay for you to fall off of everything but this healing. Define enough for yourself. Dig deep, they said. Instead of running away, walk slowly, looking whatever it is square in the eye. Do some, they said. Perfectionism will kill you where you stand, they said. In the sun or in the shade, tools in your hand, they will still cut you down, they said. Protect your crown, they said. Give your brain rest. Marvel at your body. Dig deeper. Be shamed by no one. Put holy basil and rose in your water. Break a sweat. Never blame the bugs or the people who will never understand. Don't fight this cocoon right now. Be swaddled, teachable, they said. I'm wondering how many ways I can have it. This peace, this smile upon waking, this freedom, the space to keep growing. You can have it anyway. In many ways, she, God said. Keep taking this alone time. She blinked slowly. You will know when it's time to emerge.
Thank you so much for that, Sarai. We really are returning to ourselves these days, and you've given us so many lessons in what we already have within us. So thank you. So to close this out tonight, we have one more reader.
Hello.
You better.
My name is Crystal Nicole, and I have 2 short pieces for y'all tonight. When 4 hours becomes forever, and the blood from bruised knees on broken cement cannot tell which vessels set them free, or which entities claim prior ownership, and the man's hands have blistered from the handle's wood, and he stops digging, finally, and counts the rings on the last stump like the lines of his palms or the stripes in his suit. Bodies line the concrete. Bodies crowd the entrance. Bodies stack atop the water tables, and we drink blood with every meal. It must be something in the pipe. And we drink blood with every meal, and it doesn't quench our thirst, but we drink blood with every meal, like communion, and we pray that we believe in God enough today to be granted his favor. But each inhale erodes our esophagus, each exhale is acid, and the air smells of roses. Too long after the memorial, once the petals have wilted and the excess food has fogged the vase, and we cannot see through the stained glass, and we cannot see through the stained glass, and we do not break through the stained glass for fear of bleeding out. I want to fall apart in your arms, find my torso on your tongue, and cry tears on your shoulder blades. I want to come undone, be every bit a mess I pretend to keep in place. With each forced smile on my face, I want you to count the strands of hair I've pulled from my temples and the millimeters missing from my fingernails since they last carved calligraphy in your back. I want you to notice the beauty marks and the bruises and the blood and the blood and the blood, and see life instead of death in your arms. That's it.
Thank you so much for taking us home with both of those pieces. Tonight has just been overwhelmingly healing and supportive. And so I do want to thank everyone for being in this space, and for all of those you who have shared this evening, who have been here affirming each other. This has truly been wonderful. And I want to give thanks also to Art Bridges, who's been generous enough to support a lot of these ongoing programs that we're doing here at MOAD. And I ask you also that, if you're able to continue both coming to these programs virtually, and also if you're able to financially support, there's multiple ways to do so, whether that's through our website, which Elizabeth just put in the chat, or by texting the number 56512 and typing MOAD SF. Both of those really have a lot of impact for the way that we can continue this programming and continue making these spaces. And so I want to remind everyone that this is an ongoing series along with our other programs, but open mic is now happening every other week, every other Thursday. And so the next one will be on July 30th. And we have the wonderful Yeva Johnson, who will be our feature that evening. So thank you all for being here, and hope you have a good rest of your evening. Thank you.